Welcome to SIDEBOOB Cinema, your podcast within a podcast. My name is Ricky Allpike, and joining me every week is the amazing Jonathan Astro and the equally amazing AJ.
Hey, Mon.
AJ, are you excited about the end of Black History Month? Don't say yes, because if you do, that you know what that means. So, it is a bit like that part in Squid Game where they've got to walk across the glass panes, isn't it?
It is, yeah. One wrong move and you're dead.
Every week, you know, there's just the slightest possibility that, I don't know, AJ, that you could cough and it'll sound like the N word, and that'll be the finish, unfortunately. So speaking of racism, tonight's film is Live and Let Die, 1973, James Bond, our first James Bond film here on SIDEBOOB Cinema. Now, have you noticed that I've sort of teased James Bond in probably about 15 shows?
Yes. Yeah. We've talked about James Bond.
We have, but I've been like it's come up and I've had to hold myself back, so,
yep.
You know, I've got some stuff to say tonight. That's not, I don't even know where to start really, but, so
the mania is palpitating.
Well, let's start with the black thing. Let's start with the black thing, because this could be a black.
Don't say black.
Oh.
What's another word for black? Non-color.
Oh, don't say coloured.
Oh,
don't say those. Don't say it. Just say the white adjacent.
The opposite of white.
No, they're not opposite. I don't know. Whatever the BLM says, just say it.
Okay.
No, not them. Wait a minute. They're in the garbage now, aren't they? Because they're fraudsters.
They are fraudsters. They took everyone's money. They ran away with it.
See, this I appreciate though. It's all the other stuff, the burning down Korean delis and all that stuff. I didn't get that stuff, but you know, I reckon, you know, setting up a front and taking people for millions of dollars, isn't that the American way? That's that's the fucking American dream. I'm actually on board now with what they got.
Yeah. You know, Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
Well, like I was saying, the B thing.
Yeah, go on.
This could be a blaxploitation film. If you took Roger Moore out of it, this could be a blaxploitation movie. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, it's certainly using a lot of the things we talked about last week in Coffee. I mean, you know, I'm not assigning any values to them. They did just a lot of the hallmarks that were in Coffee are in this movie. And it is what it is. And I think what's so fascinating is that it exists at all, really. You know what I mean? Like because what a strange story for Bond to get involved in.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's I believe it's the only Bond to have a supernatural theme involved with the tarot cards and the voodoo.
Wow. 1954 novel.
Yes. Yeah.
That's extraordinary. Like, you know,
and it's the second one he wrote, I think.
Well, that's even more extraordinary, and I think they've borrowed. So when we say he, we mean Ian Fleming. You know, because there might be some people that actually don't give a shit about Bond, which is highly possible. AJ, do you give a shit about Bond?
Not really.
Yeah. Have you seen much Bond?
No, I hadn't, but I really liked this one.
So don't you think that you were just going to let us mansplain to you? And Ricky probably white-splained to you or whatever, like whatever the fuck he was doing before. You're just going to let that happen, and you weren't going to say, "Hey guys, point of order, Your Honor, I don't give a shit about Bond." Who is Roger Moore even?
No, I know that much, and I know who Ian Fleming is.
Okay, all right. Oh shit.
Roger Moore is James Bond 007 in Ian Fleming's Live and Let Die.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
Names is for tombstones, baby. Waste him, now.
James Bond is back, and wherever he drops in, it can mean only one thing.
Trouble!
This is the Bond adventure with more excitement, more action, more danger, and more. Much more. Roger Moore as James Bond 007. .007 is on a worldwide manhunt. The body count is going up. And where Bond stops to visit, he leaves his mark on everything.
They'll kill you.
They will kill us. Love is lesson number 2. Togetherness.
Is there time before we leave for lesson number 3?
Absolutely.
Take your seat and hang on.
If any man can show just cause where they may not lawfully be joined together.
Because Bond is on the move. And if you miss this one, you'll miss the most exciting 007 adventure of them all.
Well, we'll get into some details, but first I got to tell you what this film's about, okay?
Do it.
All right. MI6 agents are mysteriously killed. That's 2 in the old US of A and 1 by Snake in the Caribbean on the island of San Monique, which is run by a dictator called Kananga. Hope you're with me. So James Bond, played by a fresh-faced Roger Moore in his first outing, is sent to investigate. After an attempt on his life, Bond follows the trail to Harlem, where he meets a big-time dealer man called Mr. Big, a gangster who seems to be juiced in with dictator Kananga, who I mentioned a second ago. More importantly, Mr. Big keeps an exotic bit of crumpet nearby, not just because of her tight assets, but because she's a skilled tarot card reader. Her supernatural ability seems to give him the edge and also gives Bond hot pants. Mr. Big sets his henchmen on Bond, but he outwits them in some slow-moving bullshit 70s kung fu way. He then takes off to San Monique with a CIA agent called Rosie Carver. Now, Bond suspects Rosie of being a double agent, and his strategy seems to be as sleazy as he can be around her to get her to break. Okay?
Yes.
It's common. I think this is, I don't know if they teach that at the CIA. I'm not sure. It might be a custom move. Anyway, after Bond nails her, she gets nailed by Kananga. Girl power. So next, Bond moves on quickly and dupes Solitaire, played by Dr. Quinn medicine woman herself, Jane Seymour. This is Solitaire into a sexual encounter. More on this later. But soon after he is captured by Mr. Big, who then takes off a prosthetic mask that looks exactly like his real face.
That was the best part.
Which is possibly the greatest disguise in the history. Imagine that, if you just took off a mask and then you go, oh my God, I never would have picked that you would wear a mask that's like your face. Anyway, he then outlines his plan to Mr. Big, that is, Kananga. Now, Kananga, we know Mr. Big's a fraud. He outlines his plan to saturate the market with his own brand of heroin, free of charge, so as to create more addicts. So this is quite ripped from the headlines, this sort of stuff. Disappointed that Bond has busted Solitaire's cherry, the source of all her power, he turns her over to voodoo kink machine Baron Samedi to be sacrificed. Bond escapes some crocodiles and a long boat chase ensues, I guess. Next up, Bond crashes the sacrifice of Solitaire on San Monique, setting off some explosives and shooting up the place. And you know what? Plugging some dudes who don't even have weapons, really. So that was nice. Kananga captures Bond and Solitaire and attempts to feed them to sharks in one of the more famous sequences that I think has been aped by some famous spoofs we know of. Bond escapes that shit and stuffs an anti-shark air pellet into Kananga's mouth, and he literally fucking birds. Finally, Bond nails Solitaire on a train, murders the last henchman, and we end on Baron Samedi resurrected and laughing maniacally at what we've all just witnessed. Let's live and let die. Let's live and let die. So there you go.
The other thing this movie has is the first for a Bond movie, I guess, interracial love scene.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
do you mean
first.
ever on Hollywood, a Hollywood movie? Or a Bond movie?
On a Bond movie, for sure. I'm not sure if it's... Because it's 73.
But love scene. So, but like, you know,
That love
real...
scene,
Because it is proper. Like, and that's what I've always appreciated about you know, like particularly the Roger Moore ones, because like, you know, I mean, it's more pronounced here because it's many years before, but even in View to a Kill, like, because I mean, like for whatever reason, like it's not my thing, but as in like that people not being interracial, but clearly that was a big deal. Like, because think about it, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner wasn't too far away from Live and Let Die. So, you know, interracial relationships and the taboo around it was on people's minds. So they weren't cool with it. And this movie really, you know, I think it's progressive in that way, in that they were just like, you know. Like
it wasn't ain't no thing.
No, they were just like, she's tight. Let's get on with it. Like, you know, it's all good, you know. And I think that should be noted, you know, because I mean, there's that tendency to look back and say, you know how everyone who wasn't born like when I was born is a fucking like racist asshole and should die, and you go, I don't know if I'm famous, but yeah, go on, you know, like. So that's nice touch. Look, I take out some trash to begin with. Look, can I just say, I've already mentioned the makeup of Kananga and Mr. Big. That terrible. Okay, no good.
You know what it looks like? It looks like he's had a stroke.
Well,
yeah, it's kind of pale.
But I've read some of the book, and you know the grey pallor of the skin is mentioned in the book.
Right.
Here's the problem. So, I don't know why. So they've created for the movie. I think Kananga, because Mr. Big is the bad guy in the book, but they don't have the other thing. So I don't know why. I mean, at no point, and I've seen this movie a lot, never once, not the first time, not the last time, did I ever think that Kananga and Mr. Big weren't the same person.
Yes, yeah. I don't understand why they need those two characters.
And if he's a dictator, like, because they've mentioned in some synopses around this dictator. Maybe that's a word that I've brought into it. Is he just the lead, the political leader of Sam Monique? Is that what he is?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so, but he seems like bad in that role and Mr. Big, so
yes.
It's not a big surprise. It's not like, oh my God, as it turns out, you know, the ambassador's the bad guy, and you go, well, no, he's definitely bad. He tried to kill Bond, didn't he? And you go, oh yeah.
Yeah. I think he's one of the worst villains in Bond, to be honest, because he's not menacing.
I love Yaphet Kotto, so I don't know. Like I'm sorry. I just think he's great. Like, but he's from Alien and Homicide. He's great in that too. Like he's a great actor.
I think he's a great actor, and he does the job well. But I just think, I just don't think he's you know, he's not like Jaws. He's not like Blofeld. You know.
So AJ, these are all people from the other movies.
Yeah.
Remember, AJ doesn't know. You know who Jaws is because he's in Happy Gilmore. He's the guy who says, I believe that jacket belongs to Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
There you go, Richard Kiel. I agree with you. Yep, not a strong villain. Great actor, not a strong villain. Worst boat chase or chase scene ever. Like,
I went for a
it's just too long.
time.
It's just too long.
This is the biggest problem with these movies. They are such a blight on these old James Bond movies. Like, I want to love every frame of these movies because there's something about them that's great. But these kinds of sequences, and you hear the fucking people talk about them, the director and the stuntman and that on these documentaries, and they have got the fattest chubbies in their pants for all of this shit and
Yeah.
how it happened and how long it took and that, and you just go, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, you know, I don't feel anything. Like, you know, it's just, it was such a waste of time, interminable, long, and I actually identified it. Totally takes you out of the movie. I was like,
It does.
I forgot about everyone.
Yeah.
It is strange. It's like this whole other movie has been inserted into this one, including a new main character, which is Sheriff Pepper, who is just this like southern hick of a sheriff.
Good old boy.
Who he's got the chewing tobacco. He spits. He calls everyone boy. He's just the worst caricature, but he's in that part of the movie for so long. He ends up being one of the main characters in the whole film, and he's like fourth top billing in terms of like credits when the credits roll.
Wow.
You know?
Well,
it's like Roger Moore, Jane Seymour, what's his face, Kananga, and then it's like Sheriff Pepper. You know,
I mean, can you take a guess as to why he's in it?
well, he's in it to paint the white people as assholes because the black people are all villains. So you need some white villains.
But isn't he? Yes, that's correct. But isn't he also there to excuse, you know, Bond and the people, the honkies that we and the honky filmmakers? So, you know what I mean? Like, isn't it?
So it's white guilt. It's
your words.
White fragility.
Your way. Yes, it is white fragility. It is.
You got a set of wheels, you just won't quit, boy. If there's yours, that is, You spin around, boy. 10 fingers on the fender. Legs apart. I'm sure this ain't exactly your debut with this sort of thing. You picked the wrong parish to haul ass through, boy. Nobody cuts and runs on Chef J.W. Pepper. And it's him speaking, by the by.
I've heard them sort of talk about it, and they're all pretty proud of having him there, and they had a lot of fun. And I'm just like, look, guys, you know, in 50 years, we're going to look back and say, you know, that was you trying too hard. You did all this great work. You know, the fact that you hired that, well, at that time, put all of these wonderful black character actors in this movie and gave them their start, you know, is wonderful work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't need to try so hard, perhaps.
Yeah. And all you needed in that boat scene was the main that main scene where the boat like goes right over the bridge, which was actually a world record for many years, how far that boat went. So it only really needed to be that, and then you don't need that whole fucking chase scene.
It's so stupid. I just hated it. Like, but then again, maybe it's contextual. Maybe on the big screen back then it might have been slightly different, but it's those sequences just age really poorly. So the most expensive and complicated group of assassins in this movie. So, you know, remember in The Wire, you just get popped, right? And they just throw the gun down the drain. So and the crime has never stopped.
Yeah.
Here, a grieving family and a brass band stage a traditional New Orleans style funeral with real tears every time from the main woman working for it. That's just to distract the target, who was then killed with a tiny little knife, then put into a coffin and led away to a more upbeat tune. There are a lot of people on the payroll for this gig.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Forget the jackal. Don't hire the jackal. Hire this entire family and everyone they know.
Whose funeral is it?
Yours.
You know, talk about the messaging. This is, when you think about it, unless they are all on the payroll, what it's saying is that everyone in that black community is totally corrupt, and bad, which is not great. It's not a great message.
But you see this through the whole film that Mr. Big seems to have guys on every single street corner that are just waiting for Bond to walk past. You know. And then they've got their binoculars and their walkie-talkies, and they're like, yep, he's just crossing over here. It's like, how does he have so many guys on the payroll that can just sit there all day long waiting for a random guy to drive past, you know?
Or in the cab, or to pick him up, or
Again, it's one of these ones where Bond, everyone knows Bond too much. Like he's got no cover, you know, he's just out there. Everyone knows him, and they're all hanging out together, and it's there's no danger, you know, really. Like, so I don't know. Like, the most dangerous person to be is a woman next to him.
Definitely.
You're going to get killed or sacrificed after he has sex with you.
Yes.
Well, let's talk more about some of these deaths. So you've got the New Orleans style funeral. Then you've got the crocodiles just leaving Bond on that tiny island to be eaten by crocodiles. They don't just pull out a gun and shoot Bond in the head, which is what they should do from the beginning. They set up some elaborate way for him to die so he can escape.
Well, the sharks.
Sharks.
That's the big one. That's like, you know, so cutting him and putting him over a pit of sharks that's a classic. Absolute classic.
Yeah. When they could just shoot him in the face, you know?
Well, they could. And it's just, I don't know. It really is stretching it. Like, and, you know, I don't know. A lot of them do this though. Don't know. They sort of spend a lot of time. I mean, Austin Powers has spoofed it all already.
Yeah.
But they never hang around to watch him die, though. That's the other thing.
No. Well, this has all been covered. You know what I mean? Like, it's a slow moving death machine, you know, that doesn't work, and they never hang around, and it's like, you know, it's all the same. Yeah. I don't know, but I do like this one though. There's something fun about, you know, it does feel fresh. You know, like this.
I am a fan of the Roger Moore James Bonds. They are my personal favorite.
You said this, so do you think you're in the minority, or?
No, I don't think so. I think there are a lot of us out there that dig Roger Moore.
Yeah.
I think most people would say Sean Connery is their favorite, but I don't know. I guess I grew up watching the Roger Moore ones first, and I like the comedic, the dry.
They're bigger
comedic
as well. They're bigger and well, I want to say sillier, but they kind of are. You get like the lava, you know, the volcano lair and all that sort of stuff is in the Roger Moore ones.
I just like the humor in them. I think, you know, I like the.
Do you have any lines for me from Bond? Or?
So Rosie said, "Oh, there's a snake. Oh yes, you must never go in there without a mongoose." Or the best one, I think, in this whole film, and this was an improvised line. Roger Moore just threw it out there. Was when Teehee is trying to strap Bond into that chair with the straps on his arms, and he's having a bit of trouble doing that with his hook. And he turns to him and he calls him Butterhook.
I knew you'd like Butterhook.
Yeah, so not Butterfingers, Butterhook. It's great, and he just you know, off the cuff. I like that one.
You're only my second mission, you know. My first was Baines, the agent who was killed.
Relief to know I'm next in line for the same kind of aid. Oh, a snake. I forgot. I should have told you should never go in there without a mongoose.
Oh, I should have never gotten into any of this. I'm going to be completely useless to you.
Oh, sure we'll be able to lick you into shape.
Is this movie racist? Or is it empowering?
I don't know.
Well,
I think some of the voodoo stuff is a little bit over the top.
But then again, I don't know anything about voodoo. You know, I don't know. We did this with Serpent and the Rainbow. I just don't know. Like, and Weekend at Bernie's Part 2. And now I just don't know. I mean, you know, some of it could be a doco. It could not be. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know.
We need to find a voodoo expert that can come on.
What I do know is that the movie, done 20 years after the book, it's a slightly different in its approach than the book. Now, a few words appear in the book that you might not be, you know, you don't hear the word negress often, but that gets a mention. negress, and I was like, yes, okay. The word Negro is said probably about 5,000 times, but I suspect at the time that was perfectly usual.
Well, Dr. Martin Luther King used to say Negro all the time, like it was an accepted thing.
Yes, it was, but I guess what I've been conditioned by the way things are now to even hear that word as being because it's what Steven Pinker calls the euphemism carousel or whatever. Like we just the words keep changing, so and that's one of the ones that was in perfect use, and then it was not, and then it's what I mean. So anyway, that's in there. It's a couple of words that I don't know you'd be using. Chinaman's in there too, AJ. Chinaman. And the word Jap, which that's another one that and it's a lot of that all going on. So it's a real celebration of the cultures of the world. But
so we can't say Chinaman. Just clarifying that.
Well, I don't know. If it's it's descriptive, isn't it? If it's a man, he's from China, can't you just say he's a Chinaman? AJ? No,
I don't think so.
Okay, well we won't.
Because you could say he's a British man.
British man.
Chinaman.
Whatever the big deal is. Like, I don't know. You get, or I think it probably just get what it says on the tin. Anyway, that's the book. I think they did their best. Actually, but that's nice. You watch the movie, and the movie's actually by comparison quite progressive.
Yes,
a lot of the stuff he says, a lot of Ian Fleming stuff in the book from 1950 is mad. Very not cool, but is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think there's elements of this film that you would maybe wince at a little bit, but I think it's heading in the right direction. Yes, I mean,
I agree with that.
For the time, it was very progressive. The interracial love scene, the fact that Bond doesn't have a problem with what's her face, Rosie or anything like, and that there's so many Black American actors, character actors.
There's an engagement with the culture, like Baron Samedi, all the voodoo stuff. I mean, as I said, AJ, that's I didn't know that I was watching a sort of a National Geographic doco, on the cultures of the world.
The legendary Baron Samedi, folks. That's Saturday for those of you who speak French. Voodoo god of cemeteries and chief of the Legion of the Dead. The man who cannot die. But for our purposes, just a performer in a little musical extravaganza we've cooked up for you wonderful people.
Oh, well, what about the opening with the it's got the classic James Bond opening with the naked girls and the guns, but it's got some native boobies.
Oh, and they were proper too.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice them because I was scared of their skull and the eyes.
I told you, doesn't matter. You can put whatever you want, skulls, eyes, demons, flames, in front of a bosom, and I will unsee those things. I have X-ray vision in this regard.
For the titties.
Okay, so now this is my major point. I wanted to talk to you both about these titles because you just described them. So every Bond movie has a title sequence after sort of he does some bullshit mission and then it has the titles with the music. And a lot of the most iconic ones were by a guy called Maurice Binder, and film title designer. What are his dates? 1918 to 1991. We get a little list of. Oh, he's also done some other great films. He did Charade from 1963, Indiscreet, The Grass is Greener. But he's done in terms of Bond. He did Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, Under Her Majesty's Secret Service, View to a Kill. So all these great ones. Now, I would say he's using pop art, and we get and he used a range of different technologies, old and new, to create this kind of collage of of imagery, of silhouettes, and of women, and guns and bullets and all this sort of stuff. Now, over time, particularly since his last one in 1988, the people who've taken over up to now, these titles, I don't know if you've noticed, have become, they were innovative and lusty, exciting, dangerous, outrageous, humorous, sort of bring you into the world. Femme fatales, danger around every corner, these bullets, flying flames. They've got increasingly antiseptic. Have you noticed this, Ricky?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like you watch the new ones, there'll be CG and there'll be barely a woman anywhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And it'll just be sort of Bond running around. It'll be playing cards and a whole bunch of other shit. And you're like, where are the women? Where are the women?
Yeah. And it's very animated too. It's not it doesn't have
they're very literal actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're animated, but they're very literal. Like the overlays and the imagery, I think in Binder's this stuff is way more striking. So I'm just at a bit of a loss as to why having women. We'll cover Bond girls later. I've got a lot to say about that later. But just what's the big fucking deal with having sexy silhouettes of women anyway? Like, or are we supposed to only do like? To talk about, is our only alternative now to like disgusting Lena Dunham sex, like fat heaving, like period blood sex
in a rap video.
Yes, well, no, but there you go. But there you go. So we've got hip hop. Well, so WAP that's empowering and beautiful. Give them all Grammys, whereas
and twerking and shit. Yeah.
But, no, but why is that okay? And then you go to these fucking Bond movies, and it's like been totally sanitized now, and it's not even sex I'm talking about here. Like it's we're talking about titillation or mild like sexual excitement, mostly mental. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm not quite sure. So at the end of the day, these movies are ludicrous fantasies about a detached secret agent who saves the world. It's not a Ken Burns documentary.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a fucking killer as well, by the way. Like he's an anti-hero. We're not sure about him. He's like powerful, sure, controlled, suave and elegant, but he's fucking dangerous and a killer with a license to kill. Like he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, AJ. You don't. And sex is part of Bond's appeal because he's, being a power fantasy of men. He's sexually irresponsible. You know what I mean? He's
yeah.
But he's also not husband material.
Yes.
And men know that when you behave like him with women, and it's a very successful maneuver, by the way, when you be a massive prick, it leads to despair. Like it's hollow and awful. So these title sequences are pieces of art. They're made by an incredible man who would not be able to work today. And he's also a proud womanizer as well, like a bachelor till he died, Maurice Binder. Now, I got something big to say, AJ. You ready for this? This is a rocket. I'm going to put a rocket out there. Okay, get this. Cancel me now. Get ready. Ladies, you need to defend some of the men who celebrate you in art. This doesn't mean you can't be president, okay? Or that you can't work in Silicon Valley. You probably don't even like Bond movies anyway, okay? Let alone their fucking title sequences. That's fine. It's also fine for a man to look at a woman who is by virtue of genetics like extraordinary by appearance. That's actually okay. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that you can't be president. You can still do that. Like, we can live in that same universe. There are some artists who are inspired by the female form. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but most male artists are. And now that trans extremists extreme activists are coming for you hard, you're going to need some support. But you spent a few decades telling us that getting chubbies over your cleavage is a sexual crime. So, this is a bit awkward now. So all I'm saying is that if people like Maurice Binder, this guy, if guys like him cross the line, if they're abusive, like Harvey Weinstein, fine, put him in jail, cancel him, that's all fine. If he's in his consensual relationship, as he was, like being a womanizer in his private life, that's got nothing to do with you. Let him get back to doing his work that for the ages. And this goes for a lot of people out there. In this case, you just need to fuck off out of other people's business. Sorry, you do.
Now you said this was a rocket, but you didn't say it was a nuclear tipped rocket.
All right, they do though. They need to fuck off out of other people's business. I'm not a womanizer. I don't, I'm serial monogamist and all that. So I'm a bit of a punk bitch, really. So I can't speak to these womanizers. But what I can say is that, like, if he's a womanizer in his private life, well, that's none of your business. And if there was no laws broken, you can just shut up, and go away and let him do his work. Because aesthetics is undervalued. Beauty is real. It's a real thing. Mathematical at times, I'm told. So don't let people try and tell you that it's in the eye of the beholder. That's usually said, by fives and below. So no doubt you are a beautiful person who deserves love and respect, but getting rid of the men who best photograph and celebrate the 9s and 10s is only robbing this cruel world of pleasure, okay? And pissing off your biggest fans. And as a final point, have you noticed that people like Daniel Craig, producer of this new movie, who exclusively dates and marries gorgeous women, Rachel White's, rumored to be with Sienna Miller and Kate Moss at some time, and this other woman is with Satsuki Mitchell. She was hot too. People like him are happy to lend a hand to the on-screen devaluing of female beauty, and saying because he's got his, he's got his, and that's all that matters. That's why he can white knight around, you see, and then take it away from everyone else. So I'm going to defend female beauty to the death, and Morris Binder, and I need women to get on board. Save the Bond titles. Save them. I said it. All right.
Wow. Fuck me.
Send your hate mail into Jonathan Astro, care of the New Flesh Podcast.
I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. Come on, Ricky. Aren't you sick of this?
I am.
AJ, what's going on out there? Like, what in, because this happens everywhere. Like, this sort of, everything's made antiseptic. Like, yeah, you said it. We can see in the hip hop, that's great. But in a Bond movie, in an action movie where women, if you're going to see a Bond movie, you're going there as an appendage for your boyfriend, the way we would go and see Sex in the City too. With you.
But what's weird is that women love looking at other beautiful women as well. Like my wife, she she's obsessed with InStyle magazine and other sorts of magazines. She loves looking through those. She loves watching trashy TV shows as well as pretty decent ones. But she watches some of the trashy ones just to have a look at the fashion and the gorgeous women. And so I don't understand how on the one hand you girls can be obsessed with looking at other women, but then be so hot under the collar about any man who puts the female form in a James Bond sequence,
Because I honestly don't see why we're getting rid of it. Like, we'll get to the Bond girls later. That's a whole other thing. But it's like, but by getting rid of the women out of the titles, it's like, this is a fantasy, isn't it? At the end of the day, even the new ones, like with how real, they're trying to make them a little bit more plausible here and there. But at the end of the day, it's not, I don't know, it's not fucking Black Hawk Down. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is...
AJ, what are your thoughts?
Well...
You just don't want to be cancelled.
No. I understand what you're saying. But it's more complicated than that. I think people just don't want, like you're saying, you're talking about a couple of different things in one thing. Oh, yeah. So
often
Jane Seymour, gorgeous. And sure, she can be Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, an intelligent woman. Yes. But it is more that, I guess people are confused about the objectivity. I think that's what
I just want there to be a little, like, I think you got to get the rules straight first, and this is what some women need to do. You got to get the rules straight, deliver the newsletter to men, and follow them yourself. So you need to say, no, but that's the thing. You need to, and it's not because I know you need to say what they are and then adhere to them forevermore. And we all know that there's some awkward things that women aren't willing to let go of as well, but they refuse to defend them to hot under the collar lunatic radical feminists who should, just most women should just stand up to them and say, oh, shut up. Just shut up. I get what you're saying about A, B, and C. Yes. But some of this other shit you're saying is mad. Just shut up.
Yeah.
You know, you're ruining it. You're ruining it. You're ruining the whole thing. And they go, oh, come on. You know, it was good when you just sort of did everything I said. And you go, I know, but you just never stopped talking. And I don't like some of it. I like, you know, sometimes, I like to tell you this, sometimes I like to get my tits out in a dress and just like walk around, swan around, like sashay around town and look hot. And in my head, I'm singing Shania Twain, you know? That's what I like to do.
Feeling sexy.
Yeah, I want to feel sexy. And they'd go, the rad fam would just go, oh, fuck, I can't fucking believe you'd say this to me. This is rape. This is actual rape. And you'd go,
I rape.
yeah. Anyway, move on quick. All right. So anyway, all of that was what it was. Okay. Give me something else, Ricky.
All right. The budget. Let's talk about the budget. So it had a budget of around $7 million, which adjusted for $2020 is $41 million. And the film grossed $161.8 million. So that is almost $1 billion in 2020 dollars.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
That's $943 million.
That's a lot of people going to see that movie.
That's heaps. It's big, isn't it?
That's massive.
Yeah, huge. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about was in the late 60s when Lazenby, George Lazenby was a Bond for one movie, everyone was talking about the death of Bond. You know, that's kind of the Easy Rider generation came along in 69. Lazenby was offered, I think he was offered like another 4 Bond films. He turned it down because he's like, nah, Bond is the past, you know.
He regrets it now.
He does regret it now. This will never carry on, you know, it's archaic. And then they said the same thing when Roger Moore took over. You know, some of the reviews that I've read are like of the time are like, oh, you know, it's tired, archaic. It's, you know, it's a dinosaur. It's never going to continue. And what is it? It's the longest running franchise in film history. How did everyone get it so wrong? You know,
they did get it fucking wrong. They blew it. Is that what you want to hear? They blew it.
They blew it, and I think they overestimated the appeal of the Easy Rider sort of art house film, and underestimated the appeal of the escapist fantasy that is James Bond. You know?
No, it seems to be enduring. Like it's something about the story is timeless, and well, they're ebbing away at it now. The timeless elements are, you know, at the end of the day, he needs to be who he is, who is he. Think about it, like, and this is all in the book too. They pump up stuff like he gets sort of travel money, and they describe food, that the elegant food that he likes, and he's in, you know, he's got fine taste, and he gets suits, and obviously a lot of toddy as well, and you know, and he nails pricks who need to get nailed. All right. So, he's got like it's a power trip, like it's total. It's a total fantasy.
Yeah.
Like whatever Mr. Darcy does for some women.
Oh.
All right. Like whatever that story, getting into bustier and prancing around with Mr. Darcy, whatever that does, AJ, is that good?
Yes.
It is good, isn't it? Yeah,
it's really good.
I knew you'd love it. So yes, a billowy white shirt. You know? Whatever that does is the same as, you know, just wanting to suit up, hit the town, smash some birds, have a martini, and shoot up the place.
So is there no smashing birds in the new one?
Oh my God. The new one, I won't get too off track, but seriously, and Katie can my wife can attest to this. Like she noticed, like, look, I don't want it to be like the excesses of Connery. I don't want it to be like slapping chicks on the butt and saying, "Go get me a cup of tea, love," and all that. I don't want it to be that. But you know, it's really weird. Like in the new one, we had that there was like a new 007 chick. And she was quite aggressive and had masculine energy, and that was her deal. And then there was, you know, the chick who's been in the last few that he's sort of shacked up with. She was just mumsy wumsy. Like she was dressed in Suzanne's like sort of like like a just a a baggy jumper the whole time, like in a cottage. And I was like, fucking hell, like where's the split down the leg? You know, what's going on? And then the only chick who might qualify as what we would have called a Bond girl is that Spanish chick, Diarmas or whatever her name is from Knock Knock. I'm going to say Knock Knock. She's in that. And Knives Out. That chick, she rolls up for one scene and has a ridiculous like shoot 'em up scene. So she's in this amazing dress and she looks spectacular and she's just like, you know, ideal female beauty, right? But she kicked way too much butt and was like just taking men down and just doing. It was like she was Neo. You know, she's bending physics like to her will, to the point where it sort of undid. That got me angry at everyone because I was like, wait a minute, this is this new stupid movie. What's it called again?
Never Say Never Again?
No.
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die. I'm sorry. Okay, so no, they ruin it because I eventually halfway through I was like, okay, well, I'm on board with this new 007. Sure, like, you know, maybe it's okay to have like a you know, that sort of chick, you know, and you know, I don't know, maybe they have a relationship or something, but that didn't happen. And so then you ended up betraying everyone because like that chick with the amazing body and everything, she rolls up for literally one scene and leaves.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? So it was like it was real focus group stuff. Like, as in, I reckon someone at some point said, oh, I've just read the script and like, you know, Vespa or whoever the fuck he's with, the mumsy wumsy woman. She's like, you know, not really fulfilling what we would have called what we now have to call a Bond woman or something. Like, she's not really doing anything they do. She doesn't wear a spectacular dress. She's not like, you know, shacking up with the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, she's not doing any of that. So and then the new 007, she's not doing any of that. And so it was just a total mess. I was like, it pleased no one. So whatever rad femme they were listening to, who told them who doesn't like Bond anyway, and told them to change everything, you just sit there and just go, why do you keep listening to people who aren't the fans? I don't understand. Just go to I don't even advocate for this because I don't like, but go to a man cave and talk to the guy, talk to someone who's in your family who's got a man cave. I don't have one, but just talk to someone who's got one and say, hey, you know, like when, like, you know, we don't really have Bond girls, or you know how, you know, like that they suck, right? And that guy would go, fuck are you talking about? Like, he'd say, when I see some of those Bond chicks, when I saw Halle Berry in World Is Not Enough, like coming out of the water, he'd be like, I almost came in my pants. and the guy'd say, don't say that. Surely you mean you're glad she got the vote. And you go, no, I don't. That's not what I mean. I'm happy that happened a long time ago, and it was a long time ago now. Maybe that happened, and I want a hot Bond girl.
Well, at least have the new Bond girl screwing someone.
Yes, it was a mess. It was a mess. All right,
she could be pegging someone.
Well, yeah. I must say, like, if it was Cara Delevingne or whatever, you know, I might take a begging from her. I think I just might. Like, you know, she's turned me, I think.
Well, speaking of lovemaking, we can talk about Solitaire.
Come on.
So Solitaire, her powers of clairvoyance only work if she's a virgin, right?
Yeah, true facts. What?
And and Bond tricks her into believing that the cards are telling her that she's got to screw James Bond, right?
Mm.
But then she has the most epic regret at the end of it. She feels enough regret to go all Brittany Higgins and shoot for Australian of the Year. You know what I mean? She's
AJ.
Fucking hell.
AJ, come on. You can't give it to me. And listen to what he
more
just said.
offensive in that one.
Come on.
Line. Your 10-minute rant.
Well, I aim to please.
Off the chain. Howard Stern. That's Howard Stern stuff. Back before he was a cuck. A COVID cuck. Oh,
that was amazing.
Well, it's true. She's got so much, you know, after sex regret.
Is there a word for that, AJ? The after sex regret?
Rape.
Oh, come on. This episode. Tell you what, this is the one.
This is the one. This is the one.
So it's finally happened. Just as it did to my mother, her mother before her.
Of course it did. Well, you're visual proof of that, aren't you? Cheer up, darling. Has to be a first time for everyone.
Power. I've lost it. The High Priestess is wife to the prince no longer of this world. The spiritual bridge to the secret church. It was my fate. By compelling me to earthly love, the gods themselves have taken away my powers.
Darling, I've a small confession to make now. Try not to be too upset. The deck was slightly stacked in my favor.
Makes no difference. A physical violation cannot be undone. He finds out I've lost my power. You kill me.
What do you think of the idea that in 1973 and 1953, presumably, of like virginity, being put up, and when she has sex, she's now damaged goods. Her powers don't work anymore. It's over. And the men are just like, that's it. You're going to be sacrificed now.
It's like something from thousands of years ago, some sort of superstition from thousands of years ago. Don't you think?
Yeah, no, but I mean that's the stuff. Yeah, look, I mean,
or in Iran.
Yeah, or 2022 Iran.
Yeah. Shit. See, AJ's on board, eh? Yes, unfortunately, there are some places that do hold those beliefs currently. But yes, so yeah, no, it's not good. It's not on. And I love that, yeah, Dr. Quinn just had to put up with it. Like back in the day, it was just like, oh yeah, read the script and wait a minute. So I get nailed and then I lose my, she'd be explaining to someone in an interview. And so, yes, I bed Mr. Bond. And then afterwards, see, my powers don't work because it's tied up with my femininity or something. And you're just thinking, wow. I mean, I don't, if misogyny was a thing, then I'm just saying this might be tied up in it.
She's so beautiful.
So hot. Yes.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Yeah. Extraordinary. Yeah.
I like it how he fucked her 3 times and when he'd already fucked the other bird a couple of times that day, same day.
Yeah.
Don't you think we see way too much Bond sleeping it off?
Yeah.
Like this is not something we need to see.
And he's always by a river.
Yeah, but he's
always fucking by a river.
Sleeping it off. Like he's got his eyes closed, like completely out like a light, in just like.
And it's the women that are always awake.
Yes.
So what does that say?
Selfish lover.
Yeah, they're not satisfied. He's had his fill.
Look, he knows his way around a PPK, but not around the clitoris. All right.
I want to know what love lesson number 3 is. You know how she says, do we have time for lesson number 3?
Yeah, I think he's just going to fuck her for the 3rd time, right?
Okay.
Look, I mean, I don't like a complicated curriculum, so I think I'm okay with that. So, all right. Well, AJ, look, I think it's time for Keeper or Creeper. See if I can get myself out of some hot water here. So, all right. Look, I got a couple for you. We'll start big. Might as well start big. What about Roger Moore as James Bond? In his 40s, but he's a youthful 40s. Stable government job. Well-traveled. Is he tall? Roger Moore?
Sure.
Roger Moore. Let me just check that. Oh, okay. Yeah. So he's about, he's over 6 feet, 1.86 meters. So I think he's got that going for him. Capable, refined tastes, a bit of a workhorse, to be honest. So I'll just tell you, don't wait up for him, is what I'm saying. All right. Now, I don't know if you're jealous, but he does work with a few women, but it's all professional, though, what I imagine. He does like the odd pun.
Oh, he loves a pun.
Yeah.
And he does seem to talk to an audience that isn't there. As well. So you have to just wait. There are people literally who'll do a pun and they go and they do these little those little laughs, Anyway, look, it might be best to get him to wear a Johnny is all I'm saying. So,
no shit.
So, James Bond, keeper or creeper?
Creeper.
Yep. Okay, fair enough. Next up, very interesting candidates. So, well, I've got a couple of interesting ones. So don't jump. So I've got Yaphet Kotto as Dr. Kananga and Mr. Big. So a corrupt Caribbean sort of prime minister who doubles as a drug lord in his spare time. But he is a successful businessman and he's in politics. So 2 gigs that keep him quite busy. He does support black-owned businesses.
That's true.
He's principled, I mean, it is narco-terrorism, but at the end of the day, it's all to build sort of generational wealth, I think. So anyway, he's got a spiritual side as well. And by that, I mean he runs his business and his life based on the advice of a hot tarot reader he keeps around. However, don't worry. He won't nail her because he believes her power is associated with her hymen.
Yeah.
So that's
like her mother's was.
Yeah. So I don't know who busted her out, but it's it might not have been him because he was very disappointed when it happened this time again. It's almost like people keep doing it to him. So, he's a complicated guy. Is all I'm saying. So, keeper or creeper?
I didn't find it very attractive.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that sometimes you got to have the chemistry there.
That's right.
Before you can look past the other stuff. And a little bonus here. Look, we have Jeffrey Holder as Baron Samedi. He is a henchman of sorts who has ties to a voodoo cult. And look, to be honest with you, I'm not sure what his annual income is. He's very tall.
He is.
He does seem comfortable though. So I think, and quite musical and a dancer. I think he seems like a fun guy, quite vital and healthy. In
face
fact,
paint. Is into face paint?
Yes, he is. So that's not that. I think that's a bit fun. As I say, vital and healthy, and when I say that, I mean he actually can't be killed. So that is a bit of a bonus. Don't know if that entices you, but that's Baron Samedi, keeper or creeper.
Do you know what I like about him? I like a good laugh.
This is getting. He's almost in there. So this is a line call.
It is a line call.
Could this be a keeper? Baron Samedi, keeper or creeper?
Creeper.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I did like the laugh. I liked the energy that he was bringing.
Yes. He does seem fun. I do mean that. So, all right, Ricky, give me some reviews. Come on.
Well, you're not going to do Sheriff Pepper for
or Whisper?
I was
Whisper.
I was too frightened to do Sheriff Pepper because I think AJ might have gone for him.
That's true.
Unfortunately, he had too many of the qualities that have gotten other people across the line.
Yes.
So I've decided not to include him.
You know me too well.
I'm here to help you. Okay, help yourself.
All right, I have a bumper trivia for you guys today. So the whole crocodile thing came about while searching for locations in Jamaica. So the crew discovered a crocodile farm owned by Ross Kananga, and they passed a sign that said trespassers will be eaten. And the farm was put into the script, and the villain was actually named after Ross Kananga. So, and he actually did the croc hopping stunt. And it took him 5 takes to do that, I think over several days. He received 193 stitches on his leg and face from failed attempts.
Great stunt.
It is.
And I remembered it being shittier in my mind. And then when I saw it in the movie, I was like, oh, no, that's proper.
Yeah. And you'd think that maybe those were mechanical crocodiles or something, but no, they weren't. So
no, proper.
It was the real deal. Yeah. So Roger Moore was 45 when he made his debut as 007, making him the oldest actor to portray Bond. The youngest was Lazenby, who was 29.
Fuck, man, they didn't think that through, did they?
No.
Like, I mean, he's good, but come on, why A View to a Kill?
Well, they actually wanted him before Sean Connery, but he was unavailable.
Yeah, I know, but there is a point where you've got to say,
enough's
he
enough,
was fucking 61 or something in View to a Kill, you know?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's too old.
Yeah. And he's not a Tom Cruise 61. It was a proper looking. Like he had wiry hair that you get when you dye it. when you're 61.
So Bond's speedboat jump made it into the Guinness Book of World Records for the distance of
stupid
110 feet.
Okay.
Let's see. So according to Paul McCartney, after director Guy Hamilton heard the title song in its release, he said, "Yeah, that's good for a demo, but when are you going to do the real record?"
Oh,
brutal.
Ooh, brutal.
We
Yeah.
heard that song many times.
It's great though.
It is.
Yeah. So you know that scene where they're in the club and that female singer is singing "Live and Let Die."
Yeah.
So that they actually wanted her to sing the song.
Oh.
They wanted a female kind of soulish singer to do it, and basically Paul McCartney said, "Either I sing it or you don't have the song." So
Sounds like Paul McCartney.
Well, it it ended up being a huge hit.
Yeah.
Smash hit. So
I mean, he's great, but he was a monster. Don't you think?
Yeah.
So originally Tom Mankiewicz wrote the main Bond girl to be black. So they wanted Diana Ross to do it. But one of the producers told him he couldn't be done on account of some markets, primarily Japan and South Africa, banning all movies with interracial romances.
Wow.
So it
bit like
wasn't
China
wasn't
now.
until Die Another Day in 2002 where you had a lead Bond girl who was African American.
Right.
Okay.
So Solitaire is the only character ever to beat James Bond in a card game.
Oh.
So the producers were reportedly required to pay protection money to a local Harlem gang to ensure the crew's safety. So when the cash ran out, they were encouraged to leave. So some of those scenes are actually shot in Manhattan's Upper East Side.
What a some of those hellish locations, like where you just go, is that? They've got scenes out of the French Connection where you just is this a hellscape? What the fuck am I looking at?
Now, do you ever watch like old shows, old sitcoms that are set in New York, and you see the World Trade Center, and you're like, Twin Towers, Twin Towers. I do that all the time. Twin Towers.
Yep.
So you don't do that, AJ? You don't see the start of Friends and go Twin Towers? I do that all the time. Yeah. So
all the time.
during the scenes early on in the film in New York, you can catch a glimpse of the partially incomplete World Trade Center.
Ooh.
The top few floors are still being fitted out. Producer Albert R. Broccoli considered Goldie Hawn and Dame Helen Mirren for Solitaire. So
The body. Helen Mirren, the body.
I can't really picture Goldie Hawn, but
I can.
Great. I can.
I'm a creeper.
I can.
I've got two more bits of trivia for you. I love this one. Salvador Dali was approached in 1973 to design a surrealist tarot deck for the film.
That's cool.
But his fee was too high.
What cheap pricks? They've got the money.
They do. But
just give it to him.
Dali actually kept working on the deck, and he released his own set of tarot cards in 1984.
That's cool.
So that's pretty awesome.
Well, that's a
isn't it?
win for him.
Now, let me finish with the literal translations of some of these movies, some of the movies' foreign language titles, okay?
Okay.
So, Japan, The Dead Slave, It Is Them to Die. Did you get that? The Dead Slave, It Is Them to Die.
Okay.
So the next one is France, Live and Leave to Die. Then you've got Poland, is Allow to Leave Alone to Die. It's a bit of a mouthful, that one. You've got Norway, To Live and Let Die. Then in Brazil, you've got with 007, You Live and Let It Die.
Okay. All right. This is all could be solved by them actually putting the words that are in the book in the movie, because they say it and it makes sense. So in the book, they say, the idea of, I think, letting Mr. Big do his dirty work, or whoever the fuck, they say, we've got the attitude of the agency right now is live and let live. And then Bond says, yes, well, I'd rather say live and let die. And it's a wicked line too. And you go, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, that's it could be solved, but instead, not in the movie. It's just the title and a Paul McCartney lyric.
Yep. Yeah. And in Finland, live and let others die.
Is that how they do it in Finland? That seems not good.
You want some reviews next?
Yeah, go on.
So we got our old mate Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. He stated that Moore has the superficial attributes for the job: the urbanity, the quizzically raised eyebrow, the calm under fire, the calm under fire and in bed. He felt that Moore wasn't satisfactory in living up to the legacy left by Sean Connery in the preceding films. He rated the villains as a little banal, adding that the film doesn't have a Bond villain worthy of the Goldfingers, Dr. No's, and Odd Jobs of the past.
Sure.
Imagine.
A review in The Time described the film as the most vulgar addition to the series that has long since outlived its brief historical moment, if not, alas, its profitability. This critic also criticised the action sequences as excessive, but noted that aside an all-right speedboat spectacular over land and water, the film is both perfunctory and predictable, leaving the mind free to wander into the question of its overall taste or lack of it.
Yeah, I pay that.
Yeah?
A little bit.
So Danny Perry, in his book Guide for the Film Fanatic, noted that Jane Seymour portrays one of the Bond series' most beautiful heroines, but had little praise for Moore, whom he described as making an unimpressive debut as James Bond, and an unimaginative adaptation of Ian Fleming's second novel. The movie stumbles along most of the way. It's hard to remember Moore is playing Bond at times. In fact, if he and Seymour were black, the picture could pass as one of the blaxploitation films of the day. There are a few interesting action sequences. A motorboat chase is trite enough to begin with, but the filmmakers make it worse by throwing in some stupid Louisiana cops, including pot-bellied Sheriff Pepper. So they all seem to hit the mark, I think.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll wrap it up with the Me Too meetup. I'm just going to blast through this, AJ, if that's all right. There's some ideas we might have covered earlier tonight in there, to be honest with you. So, all right, here we go. Here's the first headline. Bond girl, it's Bond women, you fucking cis white hetero dick licker. Killing Eve, Soy Boy author Luke Jennings said of Jodie Comer, this is the lead from Killing Eve, when she was to be considered for the role in the latest Bond film. In a tweet, Jennings said, what a step down that would be. Craig is exactly twice her age. And he says, quote, and is there a more nauseating phrase than, quote, Bond girl? And for that matter, the co-writer of the new film, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, also, I'm sure, had a hand in setting the tone of taking all the sex out. And all I'll say about this Bond girl, Bond woman thing is that what we need is more women like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and others who wouldn't qualify as Bond girls, and male feminist white knights telling us what we want in our made-up power fantasies. That's what we need, AJ. And what we know is that women don't like to dress in expensive clothes in exotic locations and to have most of the men on earth lusting after them. Thank God this isn't something women like and actively seek. To be honest, I actually think we could solve this entire mess by, and I support this community, but, I'm just saying that they could cast a beautiful trans woman in the role. Then not only would the term Bond girl be ushered back in, suddenly all the worst stereotypes of what it means to be a woman would be okay. I'm here to solve problems, AJ, okay? I'm here to solve problems. So I just said it. I said it all right? Get it? But seriously,
that is so true. All you need is a trans woman, and it will be, the hottest dress you've ever seen, blonde hair.
Well, this is true.
Big tits.
Well, it is true.
Thing.
And I support the community absolutely. I am no bigot and no phobe in that way, not whatsoever. I always respect people, but this does people no favors when we rob women of something that we know a lot of them like to do, to look nice and dress nice and feel nice and and be adored. Heaven forbid a certain kind of woman would want to do that. Not all women, mind you, but the moment we would change the casting there, that suddenly it would all be okay and they'd be on the cover of Vanity Fair, and I think that is not okay. Anyway, but seriously, Bond is a renowned sex pest who engages in many much unwanted touching. He's more than a little handsy with Rosie Carter. That's one of the agents there. And that reminded me, AJ, when you told us those stories about, stuff women have to put up with, I was like, oh, this is what AJ means.
He's got the jungle fever.
Oh, yeah. Okay, moving on. We also see, as I say, we saw too much of him sleeping it off. Bond gaslights Solitaire into having sex with him by purchasing a tarot deck made of entirely of lava cards. So let's pause to think about that for a second. How he actually went about this. Did he buy 50 decks of cards all that to get that pussy?
I wouldn't put it past him.
Is that what he did?
Yep.
I think there's even a cutaway of him going back to the shop in one scene. I'm sure.
Really?
I'm sure of it. Now that's extraordinary. Okay, so and using someone's religious beliefs as well in this way is quite something. Like this, even for Bond, this is big. Like this is gaslighting of the highest order. Now forget Aziz Ansari. This is the real deal. All right, like this is kind of like, yeah, this is big. Next up, colonialist penis. Okay, AJ. Stay with me. Okay. So Bond's dalliance with Rosie is a watershed moment. The first woman of color as Bond girl. And if you thought this was a progressive triumph, you'd be wrong. Because as the mostly white woke elites have told us, having a thing for black women is not okay. Okay? It's wrong to fetishize black bodies. This is benevolent racism. Okay? So Bond and his white supremacist Willie should stay in their lane. And only bed white women, which is also racist, by the way. Okay? So the woke elites have also informed me, this has just come in, AJ, they've just wired this through, that he's free to be with Asian people, though, and this is from them, they say, we don't give a fuck about them, or the Jews for that matter. Yeah. So that's what they say, are my words, AJ, this is what this is from Woke HQ, that's what they said. So that's the Me Too Meter tonight. You have to try and sort through that yourself. Out of 10, what do we give this movie?
It's high. I'd say probably an 8.
It is high, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Despite everything I said, it's high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about an 8 or 9.
I'm giving an 8. Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
8 or 9. And what do you think of our comments tonight, AJ? What would you give that out of 10? Did you give it
It's one for the ages.
You give it an 11?
I'd give it a 52. It's been a great ride, guys.
I know. We did the best we could. So
it's bound to happen eventually.
That's true.
Well, next week we're going to leave Black History Month behind and move on to Poison Ivy, back where we belong, with the sexy thrillers of the 90s, with Drew Barrymore. Speaking of Mumsy Wumsy. You said it. Come on. You've seen her in her new show, for goodness sake.
She loves it.
She is.
What is this new show? I'm out of touch.
She's picking you up from soccer practice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
She's the new Ellen.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So she's on the YouTubes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is it just on YouTube?
Oh, actually, I don't know. Is it on the,
I think
it's
on
the telly? Or?
I think it's on the telly.
Yeah, right.
Oh, on the old school telly, free to wear?
Yeah, I think she's fully replaced Ellen.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well,
Maybe I'm wrong though.
So is it actually the Ellen show, but now it's the Drew Barrymore
show? Yeah.
I look forward to seeing her slow slide into being a total bitch.
Yeah.
All right. We still what we said.
Yep. I'll see you butterhooks later.
I like it.
Long live the new flesh.
Long live the new flesh.
It's funny. I thought all that stuff
it's fucking wild.
It sounded a lot less intense when I wrote it down.